So today we're going to do the sales call analyzer. Now, this is something that I think most businesses should have, especially if you're ordering, if you have a two-step sales process, or if you have a long kind of sales process where things happen online, virtual meetings, all of that kind of stuff. You definitely need a sales call analyzer. It's one of the simplest, lowest leverage automations that you can start with that is going to have a disproportionate return on your sales. And the idea behind this is that you can analyze every single sales call. You can automate that so that the trigger is when the meeting happens, and we're going to map this out, which is why you're seeing you're seeing the screen right there. But the trigger is when someone has a conversation. When it's done, if you're recording it, I'm going to show you what it's like in Fireflies. Obviously, we build a ton of these, so with different connectors. Most of them have a webhook that you can fire once a call has been logged. Then the action that you want it to take. So we're going to push it through to an AI. And one of the good things about this kind of automation is it's 100% internal. So you don't need to worry about whether something is going out to a client that looks a little bit weird. It's 100% internal. It's 100% adjustable. So you can say that whether you're using Chris Foster's negotiation methods or you're using spin selling or challenger selling, you have a sales script. You can dump all of that into the agent so that it can tell you, like, what's the ICP fit? How much did the lead speak in relation to the sales agent? Like, how did the conversation go? Like, and you can go, usually what we love to do is to go granular as well. To go, when they said this, like, you should have said this. This is what they meant. This is why it's an opening. And just popping all of that in. And you can decide whether this goes into a personal inbox, whether this goes into a Slack channel, whether it goes into a global Slack channel. So everyone in sales has access to it and they can kind of look at everyone's actions. And the great thing about this is no longer do you need your managers to go and review every single call. You can just look at the summaries of all of it. And instead of spending all of that time watching 30-minute discovery calls, you can have 5 minutes, read through everything. If there's a persistent thing with a specific agent, like, obviously you can set this up here as well. I don't want to go too much into that because today we're just going to build out the simplest version of the sales call analyzer that I can think. And this is it. So first you need to identify the trigger. So what most people do, and what most people are kind of doing wrong in this era, is they want to automate anything, because in this era, you can automate everything. But when you can do everything, the strategy matters more than anything else, because you don't want to spend all your time solving $1,000 problem if you can be spending the exact same amount of time solving $1 million problem. Like, that's the big thing. You need to understand what the biggest blocker is and then attack that. Because honestly, building these kind of automations, the amount of effort in or related to the amount of effort you need to spend on building one of these automations, it's kind of similar. It's not too different. It's not like one is 1% and the other is 2,000%. It might be 50% more effort to solve something really complex, but don't start with the really complex stuff. Look at the easiest stuff, or the stuff that's not the stuff that you hate doing, but doesn't really add value to the business. You need to look at something like this, Sales Call Analyzer. Perfect. Because salespeople can look at this instantly after they're done with their call. They get this within 2 minutes. They can see whether the sales call went well, what they can do to improve it. Their next call can be better, instead of having a weekly snoop or something like that when the manager actually finds time to do it. So first you want to identify the trigger. So for this, it's going to be when the sales call ends. So what's interesting about this, I'm going to show you, like I said, I'm going to show you how this works with Fireflies. Good thing to do with this, especially if you have multiple different calls and multiple, because you should have internal calls, new calls with clients, prospect, discovery calls, follow-up calls. The naming convention becomes really important. We're going to get to that a little bit later. But yeah, you want, when a call comes through, when a call ends, when that transcription comes through, that's going to push it in. What we want to do with the action is we want to run it past, or let's say, analyze the call with a agent. Yeah, we're just going to do that. That's going to give us the output that we can then push through. And I'm going to set this up so that it pops a message, sends message to Slack. Awesome. So that's kind of going to be the flow. When a call ends, it analyzes it, then sends it through to Slack. There's a bunch of stuff that you can do in between this, like you can format the kind of call to make sure that what this analyzes is the right thing, especially if you add more variables. There's a couple of things that you can do after this as well. Or one thing that will come in here is just sorting, making sure that only sales calls get analyzed by the sales call. If there's other call analyzers, like you can stick it in there, and then sending it to Slack. So sending one thing there. If there's a follow-up, you can also have another thing coming off the back of this or at the end of this, where it summarizes the conversation with the action points and then sends it through either to the client or to the to the sales guy or the lead. So there's a bunch of stuff that you can do with this, but for today, we're just going to build this. So trigger, action, result. And what we're going to do, we're going to start off with the trigger. So with the trigger, we're not going to trigger it manually. We want to trigger it with a webhook. So we're going to build this in n8n today. There's a couple of other platforms out there that you can use. There's Make, there's Zapier. We're going to use n8n just because it's really cool and it's the one that I build with regularly. So first thing that we're going to need is we're going to need to go through to Fireflies and then set up this webhook. So what we want to do here is we want to go through to integrations, and then in here, instead of trying to search for this manually, like we're just going to do webhooks. So here you can see I already have a sales coach in here. I'm just going to add a convict and then take this. We want to use the production. Like obviously when you start out, you're going to use tests so that it flows through correctly, but we can kind of jump the gun. This isn't going to be client facing. We can build it as we go. So grab that one, stick it in here. So that's going to be the code. If it's something sensitive, which this is most probably going to be, you can add in the secret code here as well. I'm not going to add it in now. You just add it in here as a header so that you know that anything else that gets sent to it won't be picked up as a new thing. But yeah, we don't have to worry about that for now. We're just going to say continue. So now you have to have at least one event. So with the event, we want when a meeting is transcribed. Awesome. Because we just want the transcription. We don't want the summary, because if you grab the summary, then it's not going to work. It could work, but with the summary, it gives you already, it's one layer removed from the source of truth. So it interprets what was said. And what you want is, we want to make an interpretation. So you don't want to make an interpretation of an interpretation. You want the source of truth and then make an interpretation of that. So we're going to send an event through. Awesome. Was delivered. Cool. Usually when this happens, this is should be set to post. Now let's try this again. Send it through. Did it send through? It failed again because of internal server. Oh, never mind. Yeah, it should be set to post, but it should be published as well. It's not going to receive any information if it's not published. So now that it's published, let's send it through again. Awesome. Test event sent through successfully. So let's continue with this. We don't need to do much else here. This is now configured. I'll come in later and delete this, but oddly, yeah, you do want to rename this. So let's rename this to Sales Analyzer Test. Awesome. So continue through again. Yes, okay. Brilliant. This is now done. Sales Analyzer Test. This is now sent through a payload. So if we go to executions, you can see there it is. And we're going to copy with that. Perfect. So next up, what we want to do is we want to build an agent. So we do an AI agent. And what we have here is we want to make sure that this is not connected to that. We'll define this below. And this is where we set up our prompt. So this is 100% customizable to you and your company. Whatever kind of sales methodology you use will go in here. You can say you are a sales analyzer who helps. Let's just do this. I love it when it does that. It makes me think of Shazam. But cool. So let's just redo all of this. You are a sales analyzer that takes recorded meetings from discovery calls for company X. Period. You then run it through the interpretation or the methodologies of Chris Voss using the negotiator, never split the difference ideals, and rate the conversation based on this criteria. Period. So let's make this and then say ICP fit, which is most probably going to be more of a metric for your sales guy or for the marketing guys. But yeah, so let's actually leave that out for now. Let's just say talk rate. We're gonna go with actually let's do this. Let's say what you will do is you will act like the best sales coach that has ever existed. Like sometimes it makes it difficult to speak, but not more difficult than typing. What you want to do is you want to surface any instances where the lead said something that was missed by the salesperson, and you want to make sure that it's a coaching moment. So you want to highlight what the person said, what the intent behind it was, what the opportunity was, and then how the salesperson could have better capitalized on that. Period. Let's do this. You can surface as many as you need from any given conversation, but let's limit it to the 5 most important. So never more than 5, and the ones that had the biggest impact on the conversation. So this is obviously a very, 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 very rough draft. You will use AI in a perfect world. I'll use AI to have this kind of criteria and then the normal sales script and all the rest of it. Pump it into whichever is the flavor of the month AI, whether it's Gemini, whether everyone's kind of moving away from open. But if it's OpenAI, Anthropic is also fantastic. Well, Claude is very good with this kind of thing. But yeah, Gemini at the moment seems to be one of the best when it comes to accurately doing stuff like this. So you'll get a prompt that's a lot more sophisticated than this. So this is just for testing purposes. So let's say execute this. So no problem. Yes, can't execute it at the moment because we need a chat model. So if you're building this for the first time, you're going to need to connect your own chat models and stuff like that. We're going to use Sonnet for this. And then I have, obviously, like you can see, I have a couple connected. So let's do, that's weird. Oh yeah, I need to choose the model. So let's go. I love that Fable is in here. Cool. So we have that. So let's see if we run it now. It actually runs, which is beautiful. It's going to get garbage, just because the call that actually came in, that body, there's not really a lot in there. It just pushed information through to see whether it's coming through. You are a sales analyzer, so that's the input. The output now is just gibberish. So before, there we go, intent behind it. So you can see what the structure is, right? So cool. Now that we have that, next up, we need to send it somewhere. So this is the action. If there's a bunch of actions, like you can tie this into this. If there's, like I've mentioned, there's different types of calls, you'll filter it in here. You'll switch it up so that you'll say, if it's a discovery call, send it to the discovery call analyzer. If it's a client success call, send it there. If it's a follow-up call, if it's a sales checkout call, just remember the naming convention, because then you can say, if the meeting had this in the name, then filter it to this channel. Lastly, we want to send it off somewhere. So I'm just going to send it to Slack. What you need to set this up. So there's a bit of setup that goes into Slack. If you already have it, awesome. If you don't, there's a lot of documentation around it. You need to create like a Slack bot that you then give access to your different channels, and it's a bit of a process. I just want to show you high level how you could do it. So what we want to do is we want to message and we want to send a message. Awesome. So we're sending a message, and then you can send the message to, I'm going to send it to a channel. I'm just going to choose one of the random channels that we have. So 15-minute interview. Yeah. We're going to do that. And then the message text is going to be that. So we want to do just the output of the agent is going to go through. And now if you execute on that, it's going to push this into the Slack channel. I just wanted to jump back in here real quick. When I was editing it, I realized I never actually show you what it looks like. So once I hit that to execute it, it went through and created this. So there you can see sales call analyzer. It's in the right channel. So there you see the 15-minute interview, which we set up. Before we run this, like this is what we cover. So each one will cover up to that. It'll give it a little heading, and obviously you can play around with this. So once you see what the end result what it looks like, you can format it either with the prompt to say you're going to give it as this kind of example, or you can put in a code node before it to make sure that it pushes through in the right format. So just wanted to show you that. Thank you so much for hanging on. And there you go. Like, you have it all set up, you publish, and it's done. So if you have one account and you're only doing sales calls, for instance, like this could be the thing that works 100% for you. I'm going to build out a slightly more sophisticated version of this. If you want this, you can download it. I'll do one for n8n. I'll do one for Make as well. I'll leave a link down below where you can go into our school community and you can download those, and you can just pave by numbers, just connect up the dots for yourself. But yeah, that is one of the ways to build out a sales analyzer for yourself. If you're thinking of building out anything else, like, I'd love to hear it. Drop it in the comments.